friends, and welcome to Between Sundays. I'm your host, Tori Munier, and I'm really glad you're here. This is a space where we talk about faith in the middle of real life, the moments that don't always make it into Sunday morning. Let's dive in. Recently, we talked about the tension between being called and being tired, and today I want to take that a step further. Because once you realize you are called, but you're not called to do everything, the next question naturally becomes, so where do I actually fit? And maybe even more honestly, how do I figure that out without ending up overwhelmed again? I think one of the reasons this feels so hard is because we've made it really complicated. We've made finding your place feel like something you need to have all figured out before you even begin. Like you need a test or a title or something really clear before you can move on. But most of the time, it's actually a lot simpler than that. You don't need your entire purpose mapped out. You just need a place to start. And that usually doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from paying attention. So instead of trying to go out and find something completely new, what if you just started with what's already true about you? Like, what's already there? What do you naturally enjoy? What do people come to you for? What feels like life-giving instead of draining? Because your place usually isn't random. It's often connected to how you're already wired. And when you start there, it takes some of the pressure off trying to become someone you're not. And once you start noticing those things, the next step isn't to commit to something huge. It's just to try something small. And I mean it when I say small. Because I think this is where a lot of us get stuck. We assume stepping in means a long-term commitment, a big responsibility, or something that immediately feels heavy. But what if it didn't? What if your first step looked like showing up once, helping instead of leading, trying something for a short season? You are allowed to explore, you're allowed to try, and you're allowed to step in without locking yourself in forever. And that matters because you're going to learn along the way. You might try something and think, okay, this actually is not it for me. And that's not failure, that's clarity. Because sometimes the only way to figure out where you fit is by discovering where you don't. And that's part of the process, not something to avoid. But as you're trying things, this part is really important. You have to stay aware of your capacity, because it's one thing to find something meaningful and another thing to take on more than your life can actually hold. So before you say yes, just pause for a second and ask yourself, what does my life actually look like right now? Not your ideal schedule, not the version of you that has the unlimited time, not the version of you that's on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, wherever you're posting. Your real life, your responsibilities, your energy, your current season. And then ask, do I have room for this without it costing me too much? And this is where something really practical comes in. If you do decide to step into something, set a boundary at the beginning, not later, at the beginning. You're allowed to say, I can serve once a month. I can do this for a season. I can help in this way, but not beyond that. And that doesn't make you less committed. It actually makes you more sustainable because you're choosing something you can keep showing up for. And I just want to share this from my perspective for a second. We don't need people who say yes to everything and then disappear for a few months later because they're overwhelmed. We need people who can show up consistently, even if it's small, even if it's not every week, even if it's behind the scenes. That kind of faithfulness matters more than doing a lot for a short amount of time. And I also want to acknowledge something that might be sitting in the background for some of you. If you've served before and it didn't go well, if you felt overwhelmed or stretched too thin or like you couldn't say no, that matters. And it makes sense that you would hesitate now. But this time can look different. You can ask questions, you can set limits, you can choose something that actually fits your life right now. You're not stuck repeating your past experience. So if you're listening to all of this and thinking, okay, but what do I actually do with this? Let me make it really simple. This week, choose one thing, one area that interests you, one small way to try, one step forward. Not 10, not a full plan, just one step. And then pay attention to how it feels. Because at the end of the day, finding your place isn't about pressure. It's not about proving anything. It's about alignment. It's about choosing something that fits your life, your capacity, and how you're wired, so that you can keep showing up, not just for a moment, but over time. So here's something to sit with this week. What is one small step I could take that feels both meaningful and manageable? Thanks for spending some time with me today. If this episode encouraged you, share it with a friend or someone who might need it this week. And don't forget to follow along so you don't miss what's coming next. We'll see you back here soon in the in-between.